Ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying my videos, please click the like button. It is the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me. I would be very grateful to you. Don't trust the cute ones. America's friendliest animals are deadly. Scary story published by Scare Fiction. Chapter 1, Introduction to Paradise Falls. The sun hung low in the sky, its dying rays casting long, menacing shadows that stretched like fingers across the forest floor. I drove down the winding road, the dense trees looming overhead like silent sentinels, their twisted branches reaching out to snatch at my car as I passed. I had been looking forward to this moment for weeks, ever since I'd received the assignment to photograph the wildlife of Paradise Falls. But now, as I entered the heart of the wilderness, a creeping sense of unease settled over me like a suffocating blanket. As I rounded the final bend, the forest suddenly gave way to a clearing, and there it was, Paradise Falls. But instead of the idyllic oasis I had imagined, the park seemed to pulse with an ominous energy, a darkness lurking just beneath the surface of its pristine facade. I parked my car in the empty lot and stepped out into the crisp morning air, the scent of pine and earth mingling with something far more sinister. The park was eerily quiet, save for the distant chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. It was as if the forest itself held its breath, waiting for something terrible to happen. Grabbing my camera gear from the trunk, I made my way toward the visitor center, the hairs on the back of my neck prickling with every step. Inside, I was greeted by the park ranger, Sarah, her smile strained and her eyes filled with a haunted sadness. "You must be Jake," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Welcome to Paradise Falls." I shook her hand, the touch cold and clammy. "Thanks, Sarah. I've heard so much about this place." Sarah's smile faltered, her expression growing serious. "It's not what it seems, Jake. Paradise Falls may be beautiful, but it's also home to some of the most dangerous creatures in the country. You'd do well to keep your wits about you while you're here." I nodded, a chill running down my spine. "Don't worry, I'll be careful." But as I left the visitor center and ventured into the forest, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The trees seemed to whisper secrets to one another, their branches twisting and contorting in unnatural shapes. And the sounds, the rustling of leaves, the distant cries of animals, seemed to take on a sinister edge, as if the very forest itself was alive with malice. Eventually, I found a secluded clearing near the edge of the forest, the perfect spot to set up camp. But as I pitched my tent and settled in for the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, the rustling of leaves growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. With a sinking heart, I crawled into my sleeping bag, pulling the covers tight around me as if to ward off the encroaching darkness. But even as I closed my eyes and prayed for sleep to claim me, I knew that Paradise Falls held secrets far more terrifying than I could ever imagine. And as the night wore on, I could only wait in dread anticipation for the horrors that awaited me in the heart of the forest. Chapter 2, Encounter with the Wildlife. The forest greeted me with a sense of foreboding. As I ventured deeper into its depths, my camera slung over my shoulder and my senses on high alert. I had come to Paradise Falls to capture the beauty of its wildlife, but as I wandered through the shadowy undergrowth, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I followed a narrow trail that wound its way through the dense foliage, the sound of my footsteps muffled by the thick layer of fallen leaves that carpeted the forest floor. Above me, the branches of the towering trees intertwined like skeletal fingers, casting dappled patterns of light and shadow that danced across the ground. As I walked, I kept my eyes peeled for any signs of movement, my camera at the ready to capture the elusive creatures that called Paradise Falls home. But aside from the occasional flutter of wings or scurrying of small mammals, the forest remained eerily quiet, as if holding its breath in anticipation of some unseen danger. After what felt like hours of fruitless searching, I finally came upon a small clearing bathed in golden sunlight. Here, amidst the tranquil beauty of the forest, I hoped to find the perfect subjects for my photographs. Deer grazing peacefully in the meadow, rabbits darting through the underbrush, squirrels frolicking in the branches above. I raised my camera to my eye, focusing on a group of deer that had gathered at the edge of the clearing. They were magnificent creatures, their sleek coats glistening in the sunlight as they nibbled on tender shoots of grass. I snapped a few shots, the click of the shutter echoing through the silence like a gunshot. But as I continued to photograph the deer, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me, something hidden in the shadows just beyond the edge of the clearing. I glanced nervously around, my heart pounding in my chest, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Just then, a voice broke the silence. A group of tourists emerged from the trees, their faces pale and drawn, their eyes wide with fear. "You shouldn't be here," one of them said, her voice trembling. "This place is cursed. The animals, they're not what they seem." I frowned, taken aback by their ominous warning. "What do you mean?" The tourists exchanged nervous glances, as if unsure whether to confide in me. But finally, one of them spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. "We've seen things, strange things. The animals, they're behaving oddly. Aggressive, almost. It's like they're possessed." I felt a chill run down my spine at his words, a sense of unease settling over me like a heavy blanket. Could it be true? Were the creatures of Paradise Falls truly as harmless as they seemed? But even as doubt gnawed at the edges of my mind, I pushed it aside, determined to capture the perfect shot. Ignoring the tourists' warnings, I continued to photograph the animals, each click of the shutter echoing like a death knell in the stillness of the forest. And yet, despite their eerie behavior, the creatures seemed oblivious to my presence, going about their business as if nothing were amiss. I captured stunning images of deer grazing, rabbits darting through the underbrush, and squirrels frolicking in the branches above, each photograph more breathtaking than the last. But as the sun dipped below the horizon and the forest fell silent once more, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes were following my every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. With a shiver, I packed up my camera gear and made my way back to camp, the shadows lengthening with each step. And as I lay in my tent that night, the sounds of the forest echoing in my ears, I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets Paradise Falls held in its dark embrace. Chapter 3: The Warning Signs. The forest seemed to grow darker with each passing day, the once familiar trails now cloaked in an eerie silence that sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong in Paradise Falls, that the creatures that called this place home were not the friendly, harmless animals I had imagined. As I ventured deeper into the forest, in search of the perfect shot, I stumbled upon signs of animal aggression, territorial markings etched into tree trunks, warning calls echoing through the underbrush. But I brushed off these signs as normal behavior, convinced that the creatures were simply defending their territory against intruders like myself. I continued my quest for the perfect photograph, my camera at the ready to capture the elusive beauty of Paradise Falls. But with each passing day, the forest grew more hostile, the animals more elusive and unpredictable. It was as if a dark shadow had descended over the once tranquil landscape, casting a pall of fear and uncertainty over everything it touched. Meanwhile, tensions among the park staff reached a boiling point as reports of animal attacks flooded in. Sarah, the head ranger, was at her wits' end, her normally calm demeanor replaced by a sense of urgency and desperation. "We can't ignore this any longer," she said, her voice tight with anxiety. "Something is happening in Paradise Falls, something terrible. We need to take action before it's too late." But her warnings fell on deaf ears, the higher-ups dismissing her concerns as baseless paranoia. They insisted that the attacks were isolated incidents, mere anomalies in an otherwise idyllic park. But I knew better. I had seen the signs, the territorial markings, the warning calls, the unmistakable signs of animal aggression that lurked just beneath the surface of Paradise Falls. And yet, despite my growing unease, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more at play, something far more sinister than a few rogue animals acting out of instinct. As I continued to explore the forest, my camera poised to capture the truth hidden within its depths, I couldn't help but wonder what other horrors lurked just beyond the edge of my vision. And as the sun dipped below the horizon and the shadows lengthened once more, I knew that the darkness that had descended upon Paradise Falls was far from over. And unless I could uncover the truth behind the warning signs that plagued the forest, I feared that none of us would ever escape its grasp. Chapter 4. A Close Call. The forest was alive with the sounds of the night as I crept through the underbrush, my camera poised to capture the elusive raccoons that called Paradise Falls home. I had been drawn to their playful antics, hoping to capture the perfect shot of the mischievous creatures in their natural habitat. But as I approached their den, a sense of unease settled over me like a heavy shroud. The air seemed to crackle with tension, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end as if warning me of impending danger. I pressed on, determined to get the shot, but as I raised my camera to my eye, a low growl echoed through the darkness, freezing me in place with fear. I turned slowly, my heart pounding in my chest, and came face to face with a pair of glowing eyes, the unmistakable gaze of a raccoon, its fur bristling with aggression. Before I could react, the raccoon lunged forward, its claws extended like daggers as it bore down on me with a ferocity that took my breath away. I stumbled backward, my heart racing as I fumbled for my camera, but the creature was relentless, its teeth gnashing just inches from my face. With a surge of adrenaline, I managed to break free from its grasp, scrambling to my feet and bolting into the darkness. But even as I ran, I could hear the raccoon's angry snarls echoing through the night, a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. Shaken but undeterred, I made my way back to camp, my mind reeling with fear and uncertainty. The encounter with the aggressive raccoon had shaken me to the core, forcing me to question the safety of Paradise Falls and the true nature of the creatures that inhabited it. As I stumbled into camp, Sarah, the head ranger, was waiting for me, her face pale with concern. "Jake, are you all right?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine worry. I nodded, my breath coming in ragged gasps as I recounted my harrowing encounter with the raccoon. Sarah listened intently, her brow furrowing with concern as I described the creature's aggressive behavior. "This isn't normal," she said, her voice grave. "Animals don't just attack without reason. There's something wrong in Paradise Falls, something sinister lurking in the shadows." I nodded, my mind racing with possibilities. Could the raccoon attack be just the beginning? And if so, what other horrors awaited me in the depths of the forest? Sarah urged me to leave the park, to seek safety before it was too late. But despite her warnings, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had a responsibility to uncover the truth behind the mysterious events plaguing Paradise Falls. With a heavy heart, I bid Sarah farewell and set out once more into the darkness, determined to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within the forest. But as I ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, I couldn't help but wonder if I had made a grave mistake, one that could cost me everything. Chapter 5. Unraveling the Mystery. The forest loomed before me like a fortress of shadows as I ventured deeper into its depths, my footsteps echoing in the eerie silence that surrounded me. I had come to Paradise Falls in search of answers, determined to uncover the truth behind the mysterious events plaguing the park. As I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes followed my every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But despite the growing sense of unease that gnawed at the edges of my mind, I pressed on, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge. I stumbled upon disturbing evidence, suggesting that the animals of Paradise Falls were not what they seemed: strange mutations and abnormalities that defied explanation. Trees bore strange growths, their branches twisted and contorted in grotesque shapes. Animals displayed unnatural behaviors, their movements jerky and erratic, as if controlled by some unseen force. Determined to uncover the truth, I delved into the park's history, scouring old records and documents for any clue that might shed light on the mystery. And what I discovered sent a chill down my spine: a failed experiment involving genetic manipulation of the wildlife, conducted years ago by a team of scientists in a misguided attempt to create the perfect ecosystem. As I read on, I realized with growing horror that the consequences of their actions had been far more devastating than they could have ever imagined. The creatures of Paradise Falls had been forever altered, their DNA twisted and corrupted by the experiments gone awry. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I knew that I had to act fast. The darkness that had descended upon Paradise Falls was not a natural phenomenon. It was the result of human hubris and folly, a Pandora's box of horrors unleashed upon the unsuspecting forest. With a sense of grim determination, I ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, risking my life to uncover the dark secrets hidden within. The forest seemed to come alive around me, the shadows twisting and shifting like living things as I pressed on, guided by an instinctual need to uncover the truth. But as I delved deeper into the forest, I soon realized that I was not alone. Something was hunting me, stalking me through the darkness with a relentless determination that sent a cold shiver down my spine. With each passing moment, the forest seemed to close in around me, its oppressive weight bearing down on me like a suffocating blanket. But I refused to back down. I had come too far to turn back now. And so, with fear and determination warring within me, I pressed on, ready to face whatever horrors awaited me in the heart of Paradise Falls. For I knew that only by confronting the darkness head-on could I hope to uncover the truth and bring an end to the nightmare that had engulfed the forest. Chapter 6. The Haunted Forest. The forest closed in around me like a suffocating embrace as I ventured deeper into its heart, the oppressive darkness swallowing me whole. Every step I took seemed to echo in the stillness, a solemn reminder of the perilous journey that lay ahead. As I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes followed my every move, lurking in the shadows just beyond the edge of my vision. And as the trees loomed ominously overhead, their twisted branches reaching out to ensnare me, I realized with growing dread that I was not alone in the haunted forest. Suddenly, a bone-chilling howl pierced the silence, sending a cold shiver down my spine. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as the sound echoed through the darkness like a mournful lament. And then, from the depths of the forest, they emerged, the creatures that haunted my nightmares, their forms twisted and contorted in grotesque shapes that defied all logic. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat as I beheld the abominations that lurked before me. They were like nothing I had ever seen: monstrous beings with elongated limbs and razor-sharp claws, their eyes gleaming with a malevolent intelligence that sent a chill down my spine. Realization dawned upon me like a bolt of lightning. The animals of Paradise Falls had been mutated into these nightmarish creatures by the experiment gone wrong, and now, trapped in the heart of the haunted forest, I was faced with a choice: succumb to fear and despair, or fight for my survival with every ounce of strength I possessed. With a trembling hand, I reached for my camera, determined to capture evidence of the horrors that lurked within the forest. But even as I raised the lens to my eye, a shadow fell across me, and I knew that I was not alone. The creatures advanced, their movements sinuous and graceful as they closed in on me with predatory intent. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding in my chest as I searched for an escape route, but the forest seemed to stretch on endlessly in every direction, a labyrinth of darkness and despair. With no other options left, I turned and ran, my footsteps echoing through the forest as I fled from the monstrous beings that pursued me. Branches clawed at my skin, roots tripped me up at every turn, but still I pressed on, driven by an instinctual need to survive. As I ran, I could hear the creatures' haunting cries growing louder behind me, their footsteps closing in with each passing moment. But I refused to give up. I had come too far to let fear dictate my fate. And so, with every ounce of strength I possessed, I pushed myself forward, determined to escape the clutches of the haunted forest and uncover the truth behind the nightmare that had engulfed Paradise Falls. For I knew that only by confronting the darkness head-on could I hope to bring an end to the horrors that lurked within. Chapter 7: Descent into Madness. The forest seemed to stretch on endlessly around me as I ran, my breath coming in ragged gasps as I fled from the nightmarish creatures that pursued me. Branches whipped at my face, roots snaked out to trip me up, but still I pressed on, driven by a primal instinct to survive. But as the darkness closed in around me, something inside me began to change. It started as a whisper, a faint murmur at the edge of my consciousness, barely audible above the pounding of my heart. But with each passing moment, it grew louder, more insistent, until it consumed my every thought. Hallucinations danced before my eyes, twisted visions of the creatures that haunted my nightmares, their forms contorted and grotesque. I stumbled and fell, my mind reeling with confusion, as reality and nightmare blurred into one. Paranoid delusions took hold of me, whispering secrets and lies that sent a chill down my spine. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see the creatures lurking just beyond the edge of my vision, their eyes gleaming with malevolent intent. But there was nothing there, just the oppressive darkness of the forest, stretching on endlessly in every direction. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes followed my every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I pressed on, driven by a desperate need to escape the madness that threatened to consume me. But with each passing moment, the line between reality and nightmare grew thinner, until I could no longer distinguish between the two. Meanwhile, Sarah, the head ranger, mounted a desperate search for me, her heart heavy with fear and uncertainty. She knew that I was in danger, that the horrors of Paradise Falls had claimed another victim, and she would stop at nothing to find me and bring me back to safety. With each passing hour, her anxiety grew, her mind consumed by thoughts of what might have befallen me in the depths of the forest. But she refused to give up hope, determined to uncover the truth behind the nightmare that had engulfed Paradise Falls. And as she ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, guided by an instinctual need to find me, she couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible awaited her, a truth far more horrifying than she could ever have imagined. But still, she pressed on, ready to face whatever horrors lay ahead, in her desperate quest to bring me back from the brink of madness. For she knew that only by confronting the darkness head-on could she hope to save me from the nightmares that threatened to consume us both. Chapter 8: The Final Standoff. As I stumbled through the darkness, my mind consumed by hallucinations and paranoid delusions, I knew that I was nearing the heart of the nightmare that had engulfed Paradise Falls. And there, amidst the twisted trees and shadowy undergrowth, I would confront the mastermind behind the genetic experiment, the deranged scientist who had unleashed these horrors upon the world. With Sarah by my side, we pressed on, our hearts heavy with fear and uncertainty. But we refused to give in to despair, determined to bring an end to the madness that threatened to consume us both. As we neared the heart of the forest, the air grew thick with tension, a palpable sense of dread hanging heavy in the air. And then, from the depths of the darkness, he emerged, the mad scientist, his eyes gleaming with a manic fervor as he beheld his twisted creation. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice a chilling whisper that sent shivers down my spine. "This is my domain, my sanctuary, and I will protect it at any cost." But we refused to back down, our resolve strengthened by the horrors we had witnessed in Paradise Falls. With Sarah at my side, we fought for survival against hordes of mutated animals and deadly traps set by the mad scientist. The forest erupted into chaos as the creatures descended upon us, their movements sinuous and graceful as they closed in on us with predatory intent. But we refused to falter, fighting with every ounce of strength we possessed to fend off the relentless onslaught. In a heart-pounding showdown, I faced off against the mad scientist, his twisted visage contorted with rage as he unleashed wave after wave of mutated creatures upon us. But I refused to give in to fear, summoning all my courage and cunning to outwit him at every turn. With Sarah's help, we fought tooth and nail against the monstrous creatures, our every move calculated and precise as we sought to gain the upper hand. And in the end, it was our determination and bravery that carried us through, our final stand against the horrors of Paradise Falls, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting its golden light upon the forest once more, we emerged victorious, battered and bruised, but alive. And as we made our way out of Paradise Falls, leaving behind the nightmare that had haunted us for so long, I knew that we had faced our fears and emerged stronger for it. For in the face of darkness, we had found the light within ourselves, a beacon of hope that would guide us through even the darkest of times. And as we left the horrors of Paradise Falls behind us, I knew that we would carry that light with us wherever we went, a reminder of the strength and courage that lay within us all. Chapter 9: Confronting the Truth. As the first light of dawn broke through the canopy of trees, Sarah and I emerged from the haunted forest, our bodies battered and bruised, but our spirits unbowed. The nightmare that had engulfed Paradise Falls was finally at an end. And though the scars would linger, we knew that we had emerged victorious. We stumbled out of the forest, blinking in the harsh light of the morning sun, our hearts heavy with the weight of all we had witnessed. But as we took our first tentative steps back into civilization, a sense of relief washed over us, a profound gratitude for the simple pleasure of being alive. But our ordeal was far from over. As we emerged from the forest, we were met by a contingent of park rangers and law enforcement officers, their expressions a mix of relief and concern as they took in our battered appearance. "What happened out there?" one of them asked, his voice tinged with apprehension. "We need to talk to the authorities," Sarah said, her voice firm with determination. "There's something you need to see," With that, we led them back into the forest, where we presented them with the evidence of the genetic experiment, the twisted creatures that had once been innocent animals, now twisted and corrupted by human folly. The authorities were shocked by what they saw, their faces pale with horror as they realized the extent of the atrocities that had been committed in the name of science. But despite their shock, they vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice, to ensure that the innocent victims of the experiment would not be forgotten. As we made our way back to civilization, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes followed my every move, lurking in the shadows just beyond the edge of my vision. The horrors of Paradise Falls had left their mark on me, a scar that would never truly heal. And as I looked back on all we had endured, I made a solemn vow to myself I would never trust the cute ones again. For beneath their innocent facade lurked a darkness that I had seen firsthand, a darkness that threatened to consume everything in its path. But even as I vowed never to trust again, I knew that I would carry the lessons of Paradise Falls with me wherever I went. For in the face of darkness, I had found the strength to survive, the courage to confront the truth, and the determination to fight for justice. And though the nightmares would linger, I knew that I would emerge stronger for having faced them head-on. Chapter 10: Road to Recovery. The days that followed our escape from Paradise Falls were filled with a sense of profound relief, but also with the heavy weight of the trauma we had endured. For me, the memories of our harrowing ordeal lingered like a dark shadow, haunting my every waking moment and invading my dreams. I struggled to come to terms with all that had happened, the nightmares of the forest still fresh in my mind, replaying over and over again, like a broken record. But even as I grappled with the memories, I found solace in the comfort of my friends and loved ones who stood by my side through it all. Sarah, in particular, was a source of unwavering support. Her presence, a constant reminder that I was not alone in my struggle. Together, we embarked on the long journey toward healing and closure, determined to put the nightmare of Paradise Falls behind us once and for all. But the road to recovery was not without its setbacks. There were days when the memories threatened to overwhelm me, when the nightmares seemed all too real, and I feared that I would never be able to escape the darkness that had consumed me. But with Sarah by my side, I found the strength to persevere, to push through the pain and emerge stronger on the other side. And slowly but surely, I began to see glimpses of light at the end of the tunnel, a glimmer of hope that whispered of brighter days ahead. As the weeks turned into months, I felt the weight of the trauma begin to lift, like a heavy burden being slowly lifted from my shoulders. I began to find joy in the simple pleasures of life once more, to laugh and smile and embrace the beauty of the world around me. As I look back on our journey, I realize that sometimes it takes a journey into darkness to truly appreciate the light. And though the road to recovery had been long and arduous, I knew that I was finally ready to leave the nightmare of Paradise Falls behind me and embrace the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Chapter 11. The revelation of the genetic experiment that had taken place in Paradise Falls sent shockwaves through the world, igniting a firestorm of outrage and calls for greater oversight of scientific research. As the truth emerged, the public was horrified by the atrocities that had been committed in the name of science, and there was a growing demand for accountability and justice. My photographs from Paradise Falls served as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurked beneath the surface of seemingly idyllic landscapes. They captured the twisted forms of the mutated creatures that had once been innocent animals, their grotesque visages a haunting testament to the horrors that had unfolded in the forest. But despite the horrors we had endured, Sarah and I found strength in each other, forging a deep bond forged in the crucible of adversity. Our shared experience had brought us closer together, and as we navigated the aftermath of our ordeal, we leaned on each other for support and comfort. Together, we faced the media scrutiny and public attention that followed in the wake of the revelations about Paradise Falls. We spoke out about our experiences, using our voices to demand justice for the innocent victims of the genetic experiment and to advocate for greater transparency and accountability in scientific research. But even as we fought for change, we found solace in the simple moments of connection that we shared, the quiet moments spent together, the laughter and tears shared in equal measure. And as we looked to the future, we knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, united by our shared experiences and our unwavering determination to make the world a better place. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, the world began to heal from the wounds inflicted by the horrors of Paradise Falls. The forest itself remained off limits, a stark reminder of the darkness that had once lurked within its depths. But slowly, life began to return to normal, and the scars of the past began to fade. And though we would never forget the horrors we had witnessed, we found hope in the knowledge that from the ashes of tragedy, new beginnings could emerge. For in the end, it was our resilience and our capacity for compassion that would ultimately triumph over the darkness, lighting the way forward toward a brighter tomorrow. Chapter 12. Epilogue: A New Beginning. As the months passed and the scars of the genetic experiment slowly began to fade, signs of life returned to Paradise Falls. The once desolate forest began to stir with renewed vitality as plants began to sprout and animals cautiously ventured back into the wilderness. For me, returning to Paradise Falls was a bittersweet experience. As I walked through the forest, I couldn't help but be reminded of the horrors we had witnessed, the twisted creatures, the dark shadows that lurked in the undergrowth. But amidst the remnants of the nightmare, I also saw signs of hope, the resilient spirit of nature, the enduring beauty of the world around us. As I reflected on my journey, I realized that Paradise Falls had taught me valuable lessons about the fragility of nature and the resilience of the human spirit. I had witnessed firsthand the devastating impact of human greed and arrogance, but I had also seen the power of compassion and determination to overcome even the darkest of times. I had learned that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, there was always hope, that no matter how dark the night, the dawn would always come, bringing with it the promise of a new beginning. And as I stood amidst the trees, bathed in the soft light of the setting sun, I knew that I was ready to embrace that new beginning, to leave the nightmares of the past behind me and to move forward with hope and determination. For though the scars of Paradise Falls would always linger in the depths of my mind, they were also a reminder of the strength and resilience that lay within us all. And as I looked to the future, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with courage and conviction, knowing that the human spirit was capable of overcoming even the greatest of trials. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, I made a silent vow to myself to cherish the beauty of the world around me, to protect it from harm, and to never forget the lessons I had learned in the heart of Paradise Falls. For it was in that remote wilderness that I had discovered the true meaning of resilience, that no matter how dark the night, there was always a glimmer of hope on the horizon, a new beginning waiting to be embraced. And as I walked out of the forest, ready to face whatever the future held, I knew that I was stronger for having faced the darkness and emerged into the light once more.